Hey guys, still here. I'm soon going to be launching a new series of XCOM, and therefore I've collected a new assortment of mods which you can find in my Steam 17 Workshop collection. It's going to be Stealth 17 Season 3 mods, and there's 82 items in here, most of which are voice packs, some additional map packs. Let's have a quick look at what you can expect to find in this playthrough. First up is additional dark events. This is quite literally going to add additional dark events, so stuff that makes it more difficult, such as, for example, giving the advents smart rounds, meaning that they have better aim and better accuracy. This is just one of the many examples. There are quite a few different versions, quite a few different black or dark events that you can expect. And I'm not going to go over any of these at the moment because I want to keep it a surprise so that every single time you can expect something else. Additional mission types is a mod that really helps out in making it a bit more diverse. It's not just go here, get this loot crate, go back, or go here, defend this transmitter, go back. But these times you can actually have quite some different missions which make the game a lot more interesting. Most importantly is Haven Siege, which is one of those defense missions for the Advent to try and take the Resistance Havens, and you're there to defend. These missions can be really tough. PR Tour is another one, and the Rescue VIP from a Rioting City is another very interesting version of this one that can not only grant you additional information, additional intel, but also additional soldiers. Now, additional icons, these help in trying to get more information about the enemy. You could say that this is somewhat cheating, but I find it interesting to know if I can actually throw a grenade safely at an enemy or not. Because if an enemy, for example, has one of those loot indicators, then that means that throwing a grenade or launching a rocket or any other kind of heavy weapon will delete or destroy the loot, which is not what I want to do. I want to keep it intact, so that's what that does. Advanced modular weapons. This is a project that you can complete in the workshop. What it does is that it grants you an additional slot for an additional weapon modification. It is pretty expensive. You're going to be paying 200 supplies, 20 points of alien alloys for it, and of course you need to have enough loot that you can actually add it to the weapon. But these, I believe, are quite balanced, and they can grant you some really interesting combinations and some really powerful weaponry. Moving on, we have the Advent Officer, which can now call in reinforcements. This is something that you need to be quickly dealing with. Otherwise, if the enemy does allow reinforcements to be brought in, then you could be flanked, you could be in a whole lot more trouble. Especially if your squad is not doing so well, then this can be a severe problem. Next up is black market usage. Sometimes you're trying to sell stuff in the black market and you don't exactly know what something's being used for and if you can safely sell it. And that's what this mod does. It allows you to quickly see while you're selling stuff whether it's going to be useful in the future or not. And if not, you can safely sell it, and otherwise you may want to hang on to it for further research or further item development. Next mod is the Bleed Out mod. Now, considering I'm also going to be using the Alien Hunters or the Alien Ruler pack, this one should make it a bit safer. The Bleed Out mod randomizes the bleed out timer, and therefore that means that you can have a better chance of not losing a soldier instantly, but that they might actually start to bleed out. And therefore, it's going to be another challenge to keep them alive, of course. You need to quickly either evac them or stabilize them, which brings on a whole host of additional issues. But if you can get it done, then you have a good chance of actually not losing your soldier, but trying to keep them alive. Very useful mod in trying to keep the game a little bit on the safer side. Captain Bob's Accessories pack is very expended or very extensive mod pack, which gives you all sorts of additional headgear, additional scarves, balaclavas, a lot of different equipment for these people. I'm going to be using this quite a bit. Normally I don't personalize my soldiers that much, but I try to do that this time around. Next up is Configurable Protect Device. Now there's not that much that I usually configure, But what this thing does is that, especially later on in the game, when the enemies become quite a bit more powerful with their weaponry, it makes it so that you don't immediately lose a transmitter, if that is a mission that you're working with. Because, for example, the alien relay used to have a maximum of 18 hit points. The problem with that is that later in the game, if you're not instantly at the transmitter, they can have it destroyed in 3 turns, which means it is going to be quite difficult to get there in time. This one saves the day and makes it a bit easier. Covert Ops gear. This is something that is really interesting, especially it synergizes very well with one of the Spec Ops classes that I'm going to be using. What this does is add a silencer. Now this decreases the aim, it decreases the damage, but if you get a kill, then this allows you to remain concealed. Especially important for classes such as the Ranger, or at least what used to be the Ranger, to make sure that you can get a quick silent kill and continue to be concealed. But there is of course the risk of being detected. So it's always going to be a question of, okay, do I go for the kill? Do I take it safe? Do I try to keep this guy concealed and flank around? That is going to be the critical deciding factor in using this bit of equipment. After action days wounded. This information is very handy in once your squad is back, allowing you to instantly see how long a soldier is going to be out of action. And especially with another mod that I'm going to be using, this is critical. I want to try and always get my soldiers back in one piece, of course, but if they're not, if they are wounded, then I want to know how long they're going to be out of action for. The next one is a voice pack. I'm not going to go into these too much. It is a voice pack from Ashley Williams from Mass Effect. It's pretty well done, and I have been using this quite a lot. It's quite a nice mod pack to shake things up a bit. AWC SQUADSIGHT fix. This is a little mod that allows, for example, sharpshooters, so the snipers, to use hail of bullets, rapid fire, chain shot, and rupture at squad sight ranges. Normally they couldn't do this, and this would force you to remove your snipers from its excellent position. And of course, this is not what a sniper is for. You want to keep these guys at range, and why wouldn't they be able to do a chain shot at range? So that's what this thing does. Black market trades intel. This is a very, very handy mod. This allows you not only to sell stuff to the black market for credits, but also for intelligence. So if you are starved for intel and you need to get a quick bit of additional intelligence so you can contact another region or get another goodie from the black market itself, then you can do that this way. It's very, very handy, and it makes the game a lot more workable, especially that sometimes you have these huge stashes of supplies that you just cannot work with, or you have a lot of intel and you just don't know what to do with it. Then, custom bandanas, armors, colors, and patterns. These allow you to actually get custom patterns on the bandanas. So if you want to have, for example, a customized logo on your bandana, you could do that using this mod. Next, we have the Deadpool voice pack. This is a fun pack. This guy just has all sorts of funny quotes. Now, it's not from the movie, it's from the game Deadpool, and therefore you might not always realize and recognize all of these quotes, but they are definitely funny if you get them from an unexpected character. Expanded call signs and nicknames. Normally, you have a few standard nicknames or call signs that these guys can pick from. But this one adds over 800 new entries to the pools, so you don't get all of the standard ones, but instead you get a whole lot of different call signs, insofar as you don't change those themselves, of course. Expanded mission names does pretty much the same thing, but for missions. The missions sometimes feel a bit standard. They always have the same combination of words. This one adds 1500 words, so the game has a lot more to pick from, giving you a whole lot of different names for these missions. Flawless. This is a reward for completing a mission without taking a single hit. The mission rewards vary, and for example on this screenshot you can see that you get 21 alloys. You get small rewards. They are not very extensive or very powerful, but they give you that little bit of extra boost in order to try and get a mission done on Flawless, which normally doesn't grant you anything. But with this mod, at least you get a bit of a reward for it. You can adjust these things, but I'm going to be keeping them stock for this playthrough. Full character customization from the start. Normally, you'd have to go to Sergeant to finally be able to customize all of this stuff. But right now it's customizable right from the start, and with that it's making it a whole lot more accessible to quickly get your perfect soldier, or at least the appearance of your perfect soldier from the get-go. Moving on to Grimey's Loot mod. This is one that is very, very heavily used by pretty much everyone. It contains a whole lot of additional weaponry and completely overhauls the way that you use loot. Normally, if you get loot, you get the standard bit of extension for your weapon, or you get an Lyrium core. With this one, you can get, for example, one of these, an Ethereal Reliquary. Now, these things are very, very rare. Normally, you get something that's a bit less rare. You get a standard Advent loot crate, and you can then not instantly unpack that, but you're going to have to do research on it. So you can get, for example, in this one, a sword, a medium armor, or a shotgun. And these things are actually very, very nice, as they usually have multiple different items attached to them, even armor. For example, the Spartan, this is, I believe, a legendary piece of armor. Superior Energy Diffuser, decreases damage taken by enemy plasma weapons. Passively heals the user, and any attacks that deal more than 35% of the user's hit points will be reduced to that amount. So this is, for example, a very, very survivable armor pack. It's very, very extensive. You can almost spend an entire episode just talking about this single mod. Lifetime stats is a bit of storytelling. It gives you an overview of what the soldier has done throughout their career. And over here on the bottom left side, you can quickly get and this is a scrolling version. By the way, it says unlucky here. I suppose that's been patched by now. It's supposed to say unlucky, of course. This grants you an overview of what exactly that soldier has accomplished throughout his or her career. Then we have the Longmore Alien Pack. This is something that I think most people will be running with. It grants you a couple of additional aliens. You get the Mutant Centurion, the Mutant Elite, etc, etc. There's quite a few in here that are also then again boosted by the A Better Advent mod. So we're going to be facing a ton of different aliens throughout this mod. Grimey's Loot mod PCS expansion is allowing you to get additional rewards from, for example, hacking skulls here. You can extract the PCS from a alien operator. And this is something that can, of course, be a nice way to farm these things. Now keep in mind that the tech score is important here and that hacking is not always guaranteed, but if you can get it done, then you can quickly farm some very nice PCS and with that boost your own soldiers. Next up is the height defense bonus. Normally when you have a sniper up on the roof, he's only going to have half cover, and this mod does not raise that to full cover, but at least makes it more difficult to shoot at enemies or your own troops who have the high ground. And this high ground bonus does definitely work. So as the mod description says, tired of having your sharpshooter easily shot down from the roof, this mod enables units to fire from a lower elevation, or firing from a lower elevation suffer a -10 aim penalty. So this is the height disadvantage for them. Moving on to the first soldier class, this is Lucubration's Sniper class. Now these have two different trees, as per the usual. The Sniper is a different version of the Marksman, or of the Sharpshooter that you're used to from the base XCOM game. They have two different trees. They have the Marksman, which is the actual Sniper, and you have the Operator, which is one that can fire, maneuver, and keep going. That's pretty much their specialty. And of course you can pick and choose from this tree. I'm not going to go into it too much this time, because there is definitely time and space for that to go into it in the game itself. LW Samurai class is another class of soldier. Now, keep in mind that these have three trees to pick from. The Kenzai is the full melee specialist. The Ronin is much more of a tactical fighter who's going to be trying to look for openings in the enemy lines and then use those. And the middle tree is somewhere down the middle. It has a bit of both, and of course you can pick and choose these as you like. The LW Shock Trooper class. This guy is all about napalm. He's a very, very good operator who's always going to be on the front lines, and he has a flamethrower. He's instantly going to get the flame burst, and the flame burst allows you to put enemies on fire, albeit in a very short cone. This is not the same flamethrower that the armor suits have. And you can adjust this guy to your liking. You can turn him into a very aggressive room clearing operator. You can turn him into someone who's going to be using his flamethrower a lot or not so much. It's going to be something that we're going to be experimenting with throughout the game. Long War Leader Pack. This is something I usually don't use too much because I simply don't spend enough time on it. You can designate one of your soldiers, and that is one of your soldiers per mission, to be a leader. And they require additional training before they can actually be a leader. It is something that you need to keep in mind, as you can only have one leader, so let's say one officer in a mission. One of them is going to be in charge. You cannot have two leaders, so you need to be pretty picky about who you're going to turn into a leader so that the other ones can still join into the squad. Now they have additional bonuses, such as, for example, the first one is Collector, allows you to gain a little bit of additional intel. Or Combined Arms, all allies within the command range, and the command range is something along the lines of a circle emanating from the officer. They will do 1 damage with all successful attacks. So that allows you to get a bit more damage in. Again, we're going to be looking into that as the playthrough goes on. The Long War Perk Pack. This one adds more than 17 new and reworked abilities to soldiers. This is something that is very, very interesting. There are so many different things that you can pack. You can get a lot of additional perks on these soldiers, and it just makes it a lot more diverse and a lot more fun because you can create your perfect combinations. Long War SMG pack. I'm not going to even click that one. It adds the SMG. I think that pretty much everyone playing XCOM is running with this mod. Long War Toolbox allows you to get a few options selected. It adds this window, which is something that I usually only go into once. It allows you to set the default squad size, allows you to set camera rotation, whether you want to use damage roulette. And damage roulette is roulette that changes the damage outputs of weapons. So it's not always going to be, it either does 2 or 3 damage. It could get a critical hit and do about 7 damage. I find it to be too much RNG, but it's something you can use. And then there's Not Created Equally and Hidden Potential, which I'll be explaining as we're going to be starting the mod. Or as we're going to be starting the playthrough. Lucubration's Infantry class. This guy is all about firepower. And immediately they get the Light 'em Up ability, and then they have a very, very nice amount of additional types of firepower or firepower perks. You can set them up as a regular, which is someone who's basically your standard rifleman, or you can set them up as more of, I think a guerrilla fighter would be a decent term for it. Let's see if we can get an overview of the tree. I guess not. No, we're just going to have to go into that as we're going to be playing through it. The LW Tank class. This one is when you're lacking the mechs, so the sparks. This one could be your tank. They again have 3 different trees to pick from. They are all about survivability. One of the first things that you can pick, you can see here, is ballistic vests, and these guys allow you to immediately get a bit of armor. So with that, you can instantly get a soldier who's going to be more heavily defended than any of the others. And then combining that with some of the other ones, such as Will to Survive to keep him in a better state, Close Combat Specialist to make him a close combat fighter who's always going to get some free shots. It allows you to get all sorts of very, very good perks on this guy. Moving on to the maps by Vazati. This gets you a ton of additional maps. Adds 27 new map plots. And with this, the game becomes more diverse. There's just not always the same type of standard map that is just going to be rotated one way or another. These actually get you quite a few different sceneries to fight on. And that makes it a lot more interesting for the eye to see. The Garrus Squadmate pack is another voice pack, same for Miranda. Military camouflage patterns add a ton of camo patterns. This is the list. It just goes on and on and on. I believe that even is a Dutch DPM in here, so even the Dutch are represented in that. You can quickly get all of your soldiers into the type of camouflage that you prefer them to have. Moving on to Mission Award Variety. This one, not only, or normally you have the standard bits of information about this soldier got this soldier got that. These change that. They are completely varied, so sometimes you're going to get too old for this shit, sometimes you're going to get unluckiest, sometimes you're going to get luckiest. It makes the result screen a bit more varied. So that is going to be something that is going to be looked at as we're going to be returning in the aircraft towards the main ship. Mission time remaining allows you to, in the major overview, see how long you have till the mission expires. This is valuable information because sometimes you first want to go to the black market before you quickly jump into that mission. So you can quickly get that last bit of gear from the black market that you need. And this mod will allow you to see exactly if you have enough time or not. And if not, you can always quickly jump into the mission, making sure you do it first before it finally evaporates. XCOM 2 cities. You have a standard set of cities, but this one adds 1,300 new ones. So you can have continent, country, and population info is available for future use. There are 380 new European cities, 340 Americans, 390 Asian cities, etc., etc. This is critical though. It's practically every city with 400 plus or 400,000 plus population. So this means that the smaller towns, towns with a population of 10,000, are not likely to be fought over. They are just not in the game. XCOM International Voice Pack gives you a few more voices. For the current version it has Russian and Polish. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using those, but it's another voice pack that I have. World Project Expansion, or World Expansion Project Advent. This adds additional types of, well, I suppose you could call them tiles that the game can use. Additional objects. So for example, over here you can see that the Advent, I believe, get a few different elements to what you normally expect. But it is incorporated into the main game, or into the main game so well that you don't actually notice it that much. It just feels like it's a natural part of the game. And again, it just varies the scenery. Upgrade Reminder adds 2 icons to your readiness, how do you call this, let's say your squad loadout screen. These two allow you to quickly see if someone has room for a PCS or if the weapon can be used further upgrades. And that of course allows you to quickly go over the squad and look, okay, the colonel is good, but I need to adjust this major and potentially this lieutenant for additional weapon outfits. Makes it a lot quicker in order to get all of the weapon outfits that you possibly have lying around onto the soldiers. Then we have the Uniforms Manager. I'm going to be using squads that are always going to be the same. And the Uniform Manager allows you to quickly set all the uniforms to the same squad. So I'm going to have, for example, Alpha Team, Bravo Team, and Charlie Team. Alpha Team is going to be probably wearing black. Bravo Team is going to be wearing, I don't know, some sort of camo. And with the Uniform Manager, you can quickly set one type of uniform, and every soldier is going to have the same camo patterns, same colors, and same weapon loadouts. Very, very handy. Ultimate Workshop. This is one that some people would call unbalanced, but I find them to be quite balanced actually. What it does is it makes everything craftable. It's going to be a pretty pricey enterprise if you go along with it. For example, a hazmat vest is 50 supplies and 1 Elerium core. Normally, you could gamble in the workshop that you want to get one of these. You might sacrifice 3 Elerium cores before you finally get one. But with this thing, you can instantly get it, but you're also paying 50 supplies. So there's the cost element to that. And with it, it allows you to quickly get the right loadout, but it's not cheap. For example, a superior loadout or a superior item is going to cost you 150 supplies. So that is definitely something that will help you out, but it is very expensive. It's more of a late game helping. Early game, I'm probably going to go for a few stocks that I can buy on the cheap for 50 a piece, allowing some of my rookies to actually hit something. But later on, I'm going to go for the superior gear. That is absolutely the end game gear that I want. A true retroactive AWC, this is the Advanced Warfare Center. Normally, you don't get the upgrades from the Advanced Warfare Center in reverse. So a soldier has already been, let's say, promoted to Major, and then you build the AWC. If you do that like that, then the Advanced Warfare Center will not give the perk to the Major. But if you have this mod installed, it will. You can quickly cycle through all of your soldiers and everyone, provided that they have passed the magical barrier, will all get an additional perk from the Advanced Warfare Center. True Concealment. This is one that is very, very helpful. Normally when you have, for example, a defend this beacon type of mission, the Advent is going to immediately start disassembling the beacon. But with this thing, you will not see the counter tick down until the Advent knows you're there. So until your squad has been broken, or until it has broken concealment, you are not going to be seeing any timers tick down, allowing you to get into position, which I think is in line with the whole guerrilla type of tactics that XCOM is now employing, making it so that you can get into position that is perfect for you and then open up. The tech tree. This is a small mod that adds a button right on the research screen, or on the engineering screen as well, I believe, allowing you to quickly see the tech tree. So normally you'd have to go into the wiki or have a look at one of these online to see exactly what route you take, for example, if you want to get to the plasma lance, and how expensive it's going to be. With this mod, that's no longer the case. You can just click the tech tree button and have it online in your game. The Recon class. Well, Recon, of course, is reconnaissance, and this guy is a bit alike the original stealth build of the Ranger, but they are allowed to use the marksman rifle, which is somewhere in between a sniper rifle and an assault rifle. They have some very, very nice perks. Again, I'm not going to go into these too much. You can have a look at the mod itself, which does describe all of the different perks. And all of these are very, very good if you want to have a stealthy operator. Digital camo pack, pretty easy. It adds digital camos, which normally aren't in the game, but now you have quite a few options for more digitalized camos. Quiet Bradford. I have it in here, but I don't really find that it does too much, but I'm still going to keep it in. It's supposed to shut up Bradford every once in a while when he's ranting and raving about all of his standard little outings during missions that you need to hurry up or not let the VIP get shot at, stuff like that. Numeric health display does exactly what it says. It changes the numeric, or changes the health displays from the large bars to just numerics. But there's also still the coloring, so that if the bar is full, like this Advent Soldier, that means that he has full hit points, and it's going to gradually decrease as you keep knocking them down. Then we have more maps pack. Again, more maps to be added to the game. Moddable DLC weapons, so that finally some of these weapons that you get, for example for the sparks, can now be modded. You have a few weapon slots. And this will allow you to get these sparks to get finally some actual hitting capability. Instead of a spark that is standing in front of an enemy, does not have a scope and therefore misses all of his shots. Mod Everything is a mod that allows you to do exactly what it says. It allows you to mod absolutely everything, including, for example, these little bots that you have. You can mod your sidearm if you have one. You can even mod your armor. And with that, it allows you to get a lot of diverse weaponry for all sorts of different situations. A few more classes. We have the Rogue class. The Rogue is a solo operator. It's a bit like the Recon Specialist, but this guy excels at being on his own. Now, someone has created Colonel John Central Bradford here. He has all sorts of perks along the Ghost tree that allow him to stay hidden. The Lone Wolf tree is where you're not going to be operating very close to your squad. You're going to be completely on your own, hence the rogue term. And then there's the other one, which is again a bit of both. And as per the usual, we're going to be looking into that a bit more as the game is actually going to be launched. The Seal class is a very interesting operator. You can turn him into two different options. The Marksman is more of a stealthy operator. Especially Fade to Black is a very, very powerful perk, as it gets you, if you get a kill, it gets you a, I believe 50-50 chance to actually regain concealment. So you can have this guy phasing out the battlefield, getting a couple of kills here and there, fading to black, so getting reconcealed, moving to a better position and then shooting again from there. The other tree is all about firepower. No stealth whatsoever, but for example the shield protocol allows him to either deploy shield on himself or allies, which makes him a sort of semi-supporter, but stick and move on the other hand allows you to quickly move from one spot to the next so it allows you to move after firing. It's a very, very powerful operator, especially further down the line. Show enemies on mission planning. Once you have the Shadow Chamber, this shows you what kind of enemies are going to be on the mission. And normally that's something you can see when you select the mission, but not when you're equipping your squad. And now if you have this mod installed, it also says it here, what you can expect. And that allows you to pick and choose all the weaponry that you may need. For example, if there is, let's say, a sectopod, you're going to be using a lot of armor-piercing weaponry. If there's not, then you may decide to leave the AP weaponry behind. Next up, the Show More Buffs details. This thing is going to show you more information about the soldier and the alien. So, for example, if someone is poisoned, it shows you what exactly that does and how long it's going to last. If he's disoriented, it's going to show you what exactly that does. It's more information allowing you to make better choices in the game. Mod configuration menu, just a bit of menu that allows you to configure all the different mods that you may have installed, so long as they are attached to this. Some mods just don't interact with this thing at all and are to be adjusted by any files. Sword Rebalance. This is, I'm not sure if it's still completely up to date. Last updated 13th of February 2016. Increases the accuracy, crit chance and damage scaling of all vanilla swords. This one finally makes a melee character valid. It makes it actually workable, unlike previously where melee specialists were powerful early on, but later on tended to become a little bit less effective. Suit upgrading. You know that sometimes you have these exosuits or the lower tier suits. This thing, you can upgrade them into the next variant. It's going to be pricey, but it allows you not to have to toss away one of those old suits that you may have modded and actually upgrade them into the better variant of it. Stop wasting my time. It's set to remove pointless pausing. I haven't actually seen it in action too much, but some animations are just skipped, and that makes it very, very handy. Especially stuff like this. Removes the Bradford voiceovers for 1, 3, and 6 turn remaining warnings, or the civilian dying warning. Those things that you've heard time and time again is just gonna be skipped out. The Stabilize Me mod is, again, another one of those mods that allows you to stabilize, but it does not work as the previous one. That just says that a soldier can go into the I need stabilization or I need a medkit phase, where they can bleed out. This one allows you to stabilize any soldier who has a medkit using the medkit of the downed soldier. So that if your medic goes down, as it says here, if there's no more bleeding out deaths for your medics. So you can run up to your medic, use the medkit on the medic, and then stabilize the medic using his own medkit instead of having to bring several. Very, very handy. Saves you a lot of time. Smart Overwatch is a very interesting mod. It allows you to set vectors for your Overwatch. Sometimes you can expect enemies from 2, 3, 4 different directions. And with this mod, you can then say, okay, I want you to watch over this area. I want you to watch over the second area. And I want you to watch over the third area. Instead of 3 soldiers firing at the same enemy and then all getting flanked together. Very handy and gives you a lot of options. Soldier fatigue. As the title says, liberating the planet is hard work. If you have a soldier who just went on a mission, they are going to get fatigued. Now, how long this fatigue lasts depends on the soldier. You can send a fatigued soldier back on a mission, but there's a risk. If they get hurt throughout the mission, when they are in the fatigued state, they become less, or they become out of action for a longer period of time. They are, should you put this? If he's going to be injured, it's going to take him more time to get back up to full strength. So it's always going to be a bit of a trade-off. Do I send this fatigued but healthy soldier on a mission? And do I risk him getting hurt and therefore not being usable for another couple of days, potentially a week? Or do I just go with it and hope for the best? Spec Ops combat knives. This adds 2 different knives. You have a combat knife, which is a silent option. It allows you to get a silent takedown. When activated, you have no detection radius for 1 round, melee kills do not break concealment, and you have plus 20 critical hit chance and plus 3 critical damage. Can only be activated while concealed. This allows you, especially in combination with some of the other stealthy packs, to get a very, very good assassin. They just run up to someone, stab them, take them down, and hopefully, if they there's the thing, they need to actually get a kill. If they don't get a kill, then this thing is useless. So early on it's risky. Later on throughout the game it becomes more powerful. Works very well in combination with some of the other melee perks. And then there's the throwing knife, which allows you to get a knife onto a target on distance. Let's see. These are the different types of knives. The throwing knife allows you to get a hit on a target at range, but for a bit less damage. There's again going to be a trade-off. Then, voice pack, Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher, very, very nice. It's a very, very good voice pack, this one. Trooper. The troopers are, they are pure DPS specialists. They get to fire their sidearm as well as their main armament, so a shotgun or an assault rifle, as you can see it here. It also allows them to get, for example, covering fire, the piercing barrage, so they can get a lot of damage onto targets in various different ways. Very, very handy to have these guys around. Squad cohesion. This is going to be a critical element in my playthrough. Squad cohesion allows you to have, for example, all the same operators in a squad, and with them combined, they get bonuses. So, for example, this squad cohesion is 120 points, meaning it's budding friendships, and there is a different bonus that they get. So, below 300 points, such as this one, the squad works as normal. However, if you have groups of soldiers which always fight together, you can have plus 5 aim, plus 5 defense, plus 5 crit chance, plus 2 mobility, plus 15 hacking, 10 psi offense, and 20 willpower. Now, there is a plus and a minus to this one. Getting these bonuses is not easy, because it means that you're going to have to keep the same soldiers together every single time. And sometimes that is not possible, because sometimes one of them is going to be in a hospital, and you can say, okay, do I go with the less experienced squad, or do I go with the more experienced squad and just swap out one soldier and potentially not get the bonus? This is, especially with the fatigued mod, going to work pretty damn well in trying to keep me on my toes and getting me to use all the soldiers in the right way. You can see that they get these points by, for example, healing a soldier is 5 points, but carrying a downed soldier out of the battlefield is 30 points. So stuff like this is very, very important now. You want to leave no man behind. A couple of voice packs. We have Schwarzenegger, so that's Terminator. Borderlands, the Handsome Jack pack. Call of Duty Ghost, Call of Duty Soap, Call of Duty John Price. Mr. Torek from Borderlands. Splinter Cell is another voice pack, of course. Tony Montana. This one's very, very fun. He has a few very, very good quotes in there. And then finally, A Better Advent 2. This is the successor to A Better Advent. It adds a lot of new enemies. There are quite a few lists here. List of new enemies. Let's have a look at that one. You have captains, troopers, other advent aliens, and chrysalids. For example, you have 6 new different captains, 8 troopers, 3 shield bearers, 3 stun lancers, etc., etc. It just goes on and on and on. The advent captains. There's now an advent sniper captain. There's an advent adept captain, which is a psionic operator. You never quite know what you're up against. So you can only see once you're firing at a target what exactly is the type of enemy that you're working with. This gives you a ton of new options and a ton of trouble. Especially stuff like, I believe it's one of the mechs. There's an archer mech somewhere. The mechs, for example, the Autodoc, it can heal people around it, which is something that the Advent normally don't do. An anti-riot mech. These equipped with a multi-purpose launch that can fire either smoke grenades or cluster flashbangs. Just imagine your squad being nicely clustered up, getting one flashbang, and everyone is going to be panicked or disoriented. This is going to cause me a lot of problems and probably a lot of fun for you. I hope it's going to make the playthrough a lot more exciting. And that pretty much concludes the list. That is all of the mods. Now, if you want to use these mods or a small assortment, there is a list or a link to this list down in the description down below, so that you can quickly have a pick and choose of your own mods or simply subscribe to all. Now, note that if you do subscribe to all and you have some of your own mods installed, that they may clash, and some mods require a fresh start. Anyway, these are the mods that I'm going to be using. I'm really looking forward to this next season. I have never played the Alien Hunters pack before, because I heard it was terribly unbalanced. But I hope that I can make it work without losing too many soldiers. And if you do lose soldiers, well, that's just the risk of XCOM. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know which mods you prefer. Let me know what you would like me to do throughout this playthrough. If you have any special demands or any special wishes, then let me know. And I'll see you soon for the start of this Season 3 for XCOM.